All right. All right, folks, we're going to start today. We're taking a whole different look at measurement. On Thursday, it was all about angles. Today, we're all about measurement. And continuing on for the rest of the year, we're going to be all about measurement. We're going to start off with two-dimensional measurement, and which is all about today, anyways, or this lesson, perimeter of shapes. And the key here is the perimeter is the distance around the outside of an object. So we're going to look at the distance measuring around the object. It means we're never going to go inside that object, which is very key. All right, so I'm going to go through a few examples of just kind of what you could have. So example one, again, this is off my note on the website. Find the perimeter of the following. And so I have a 10 and an 8 here. All right, so when we're looking at the perimeter of the outside of an object, because that's what perimeter is all about. So I'm going to use P equals. What I like to do is start at a certain spot and kind of trace around the object. And again, that makes sure that you will never go inside the object because that's not about perimeter. All right, and so what I do is I'm moving along the bottom here and it says 10. So I traveled 10 meters. And then I go up and across, that's another 8. All right, and then I go across here, but there's no measurement here. But again, see these little ticky marks? The ticky marks mean that these two sides are equal. So if this is 10, this is in fact 10. So we've traveled another 10. And then I go back down where I've completed my journey around the outside of the object. And again, we have a single tick mark here, which means it's equal to the single tick mark over here. So that's an 8. And so four-sided shape, well, we have 4 sides to count up in our perimeter. And so I do the math. Let's see here. I got 10 plus 8 is 18, plus another 10 is 28, plus another 8 is 36. And the big thing for this unit is never forget the units because I'll end up taking off a half mark every time. All right, and we are in meters. All right, so again, watch out for the ticky marks. Here we have a shape that looks like a rectangle with a triangle attached to it. But again, if I'm looking for the perimeter, I'm looking for the distance around the outside of that shape. And so again, look for P, and I like to start at a spot and trace around it. So I'm going 10 and then down here for 5. So I'm going to do 2 at once here. So I went 10 and then I went 5. All right, and then I go all along the bottom here, which is a 13, and then up, and it's a 4. All right, and so I add those two together. So let's see here, 10 plus 5 is 15, plus 13 is 28, plus 4 is 32. And again, I can't forget the units, which is centimeters. So even though this is what's called a tangram, which is a shape made up of 2 or more shapes, because it was a tangram, a rectangle and a triangle together, I still didn't go inside the object. I went around it. And again, that's the key with perimeter. All right, so then we have our next one here. Example B, kind of a funny looking shape. And again, I'm going to look for my perimeter. That's what we're all about. All right, so I'm going to start at a certain spot. So I guess I'll start right here. And so I move along the top. And that has a length of 20. Actually, I should put the units on there. Meters. Everything's in meters. All right. Then I move down, and I've moved 15.5. All right. Then I go across the bottom. That's 7.2. Then I go up. Now, I don't know that distance. It's not written down there. And there's no ticky marks like before. But what I can do is I can see that from here to here is 9.4, and from here to here is 15.5. So I'm going to call this distance x here. And x is the difference between the two, which in math is subtraction. So x is going to be 15.5 minus 9.4. All right. And if I get out my calculator, I could figure out that that is actually 6.1. All right, so I'm going to add that into my perimeter formula here, 6.1. I'm going to need 2 lines here, it looks like, plus. All right, but then I have, if I go along the bottom here, I also have a problem. I'm going to call that value y. And I don't know that distance. There's no ticky marks again, but look it. It's 20 all the way across the top. It's 7.2 this far across. So the remaining part would be the difference. And so I could find y by taking 20, subtracting 7.2, and y should be, I believe, 12.8. All right, so now I go back and I plug that in to my perimeter formula, but I'm still not done yet. That's why I like tracing around the object, because you can get doing little side calculations so I don't get lost. The last bit is to go up, and I have a 9.4. All right, so then at the end, what I want is my answer with the units. And so if I add up all those decimals, I end up not getting a decimal, but a nice whole number of 71. And again, the units are meters. There we go. So you got to watch it. You got the ticky marks, you got tangrams, another tangram here where we got two rectangles smushed together. But again, we had to do some math, look at the overall picture to figure out some missing values. All right, now, the next thing we're going to look at, again, is perimeter, but it's not called perimeter. And that's because we're going to be dealing with circles. All right, so we have example 2. Or sorry, I guess it's a new one, so I can say it's example 1 because we're going to look up, it says find the circumference around a pool, nice above ground pool, that has a radius of 6 meters. Good sized pool. Now, here's a couple of things. When you have a circle, let's see how I can draw a nice one here. Well, that's pretty good for me. There's two objects. First of all, the circumference is your distance around the object. It's the perimeter of a circle. They don't call it the perimeter because I guess it's a curved line. It's not a nice straight line. Now, there's two formulas for circumference. We have pi times d, where d is the diameter. That's the distance all the way across your circle as long as you go through the middle. Or we have another formula. So there's two of them, 2 pi r. And the r is your radius, which is halfway across the circle to the center, from the edge of the circle to the center. All right, so 2 radiuses actually is a diameter. So that's where that formula comes into play. And again, for us, pi, the 3 decimal places is 3.14. So depending on whether you have the diameter or have the radius, those are the formulas you're going to use. Now, in this case, we have a pool that has a radius of 6 meters. All right, so we have the radius. And so what I'm going to do is use my circumference formula. Again, that is the perimeter of a circle. All right, I'm going to sub those values in that I know, because in this case, I know that my r value is 6. And so I have 2 pi. I don't like to leave it. Anytime I can figure something out in math and put a number in there, I do it. So pi I know is 3.14. The radius here is 6. All right, now if I multiply those 3 numbers, I end up with, to 2 decimal places, that's how far we're going, no rounding, 37.69 meters would be the distance around that pool. All right, so again, the perimeter of a circle is called the circumference. Little change of name. All right, now example 2, where we want to find the perimeter of our certain object here. So save some space. Let's see here. So we have this object. I'm going to draw a dotted line just to show that. And now up top, there we go. It's actually pretty good for me. So I've got 10 centimeters here, 8 centimeters here, and we want to find the perimeter of that object. All right. Now, again, what I like to do when I'm finding the perimeter of an object is to start tracing around that object. All right, so I have my perimeter. I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to go down 10 centimeters. So I'm going to put a 10 there. I go along the bottom, and that's an 8. All right, then I go up here. Now, there is no ticky marks, but because these are right angles, which they are, these two 10s, these two sides have to be equal, and so I'm going to add another 10. Now, then I go around a circular part. Now, that is only half a circle. So I'm going to put plus the semicircle. Now, what I can do is find the circumference of a circle. Because it's a semicircle, though, I'll have to cut it in half. Now, I need the radius or the diameter of this circle, or of this semicircle, I should say. And I look, and again, the distance across a circle, all the way across a circle that goes through the middle, is the diameter, and it's down here. So that would be 8. My diameter would be 8. And so because I have the diameter, I'm going to use my diameter formula, which is C equals pi times D. But again, I'm going around half a circle, so I'm going to divide that by 2. All right, so then I plug in my numbers. Again, pi is 3.14. My diameter is 8. And then I have to divide it by 2. All right, so again, I got to do a little bit of side math here. And so if I figure out the area of my semicircle, or my circumference of my semicircle, it's 12.56. And so the perimeter of this object, 10 plus 8 plus 10 plus my 12.56 for that semicircle. I do the math, I add it up, and then I put my units on it, and I end up with, let's see here, 40, I believe, 0.56, and the units are centimeters. And that is how we find the perimeter of our shape. So sometimes you have to do a little adjustment with the circle formula or another formula like we did before. And the circle formula you use depends on whether you have the radius or the diameter. And again, you might have to make adjustments somewhere. But never forget your units. That's the key.